Welcome to the Humanist Podcast. I'm your host, Ken Stearns. Join us on a journey where we unravel the intricacies of workplace dynamics. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Humanist. I'm your host, Ken, and I have got just a good little giggle in my throat because of the intro. So far when you start a show sometimes, and then where you end up pointing it, not always the same. And we've really expanded, I think, the Humanist kind of definition, and I think there's even some more changes coming to the design of the show and the ideas. But it's really, it's really all about people trying to leave the world a little bit better place, do things for each other. What is it like to be a good human, to be there for other people? And I think Lissa, our next guest, Lissa Zanville's got a kind of a cool, well, we're going to find out, but I think it's a cool story, kind of a little bit of a Batman hero thing. If I could be a little crazy on it, but there are so many instances and times when small voices are hard to be heard. And you got to find somebody who does put their money where their mouth is, Lissa, and invest in a cause, invest time and money, resources to go out and make a good case for change. And so, Lissa, welcome to the show, Los Angeles Trial Lawyers. Really, I'm looking forward to this conversation because I just have no idea where it's going to go. And I'm just super excited about that.
That's the most fun when you don't know where it's going to go.
And I'm okay.
Great. So am I. Go for it.
Well, tell us, what happens at the trial? What do you do at the association? It's a nonprofit, and tell us maybe a little bit about it, and then maybe a little bit about yourself somewhere in there.
Okay, sounds good. We're the Los Angeles Trial Lawyers Charities. We started about in 2006 because I think we were talking about trial lawyers don't always have the best reputation,
Yes.
but we do such good. And what we wanted to do was to tell our story in a way that showcases the good that LATLC and the trial lawyers do. For example, when we started, we had two goals. We wanted to give away money and support local nonprofits in the Los Angeles area, and we wanted to take our personal time and volunteer because most of the trial lawyers do that anyway, and this was a way to work as a unit in our community and really make a difference. Making a difference is a big thing with us, where our tagline, so to speak, is justice in the courtroom and service in the community. And that's what we do, because plaintiff attorneys are what I call the good guys. We're the ones who support the little people against insurance companies or medical malpractice or product problems. And we will support you and help you to get the kind of benefits that the public really needs.
Yeah, it's interesting. Boy, the volunteering part, really interesting. Imagining, the attorneys out there doing the real volunteer work. And I know just from doing it sometimes, it can change. It can absolutely change you, and so I imagine it's a great impact for people.
We've looked at studies to show that volunteering and helping others, about 93% of adults feel happier when they volunteer and they help other people. About 80% of people, it reduces their stress. So even during the pandemic, when mental health became such a major issue, we were actually doing volunteer projects via Zoom online. And I'll give you a quick example of that. We work with a group called Claire Matrix in Los Angeles, and it's a recovery, drug and alcohol recovery group. And so here are women, we were working with the women in Claire Matrix. So here are women who are not only trying to recover, but they're isolated from the rest of the world because of COVID-19. So what we did was via Zoom, we had a women's empowerment activity where we made vision boards and we did kind of a self-defense yoga workshop, all via Zoom. So we delivered safely, very safely. We delivered all the supplies to Claire Matrix, and then all of the volunteers got their own supplies, which were, to make vision boards. And we all talked to each other while we were going through this. So it was an interaction with the public, with the people, with the women at Claire Matrix, but it was also interacting with our volunteers. We did a special needs group called Ability First, again by Zoom. For St. Patrick's Day, we again shipped out the supplies to young adults who have special needs, whether it's Down syndrome, intellectual disabilities, all kinds of stuff. And we made these leprechaun artwork, and then they taught us an Irish jig via. We didn't stop even during the pandemic, and
Oh.
us feel better and everybody feel better. That's our goal.
If only 92% felt better, the other 8% must be dead, right? I mean, how do you not
Absolutely.
feel?
I know that the first event I ever went to for LATLC was adaptive tricycles for kids with disabilities,
Oh,
intellectual and physical disabilities. And we gave a grant. That's another thing that we do, is we provide annual grants. So we gave grants that paid for 3 bikes, and they were having a presentation. SoCal Trikers, that's the group, was doing a presentation to the kids who were getting the bikes. First of all, one of our board members who was there said afterwards, 3 is not enough. And the Great Trike Giveaway was born, and I can talk about that later. But after I left that event, understand it was the first one I ever went to, I said, if they're all like this, I'm either going to be sitting in my car, high as a kite, or crying, because it hit both the heart and everything about it. And it was such an incredible experience. And that's why we do monthly service projects, so that our supporters can feel good and we can do good in the community.
How long has the charity been around?
Since 2006. It started, just a quiet group of maybe 7 people. Trial lawyers got together, decided they'd do this, they'd raise a little money, and they'd give out some annual grants. I think we gave out 5 grants the first year, 5,000 each. So it was a nice, well, since that time, we have given out $5.9 million in grants. We've done 12,000 volunteer service hours, and that's only since 2015 when we started tracking. I don't know what it was like before that, but I definitely keep track of it now. And we do these projects every month, and they could be small, like handing out food at a group called MEND, Meet Each Need with Dignity, where they give out fresh goods, fruits, vegetables, some canned goods, to 600 people twice a week. It's an unbelievable group. We will volunteer at one of their, giving out the food. Or it could be as large as our signature event. We have 3 of them. One is the Great Trike Giveaway, but our biggest one is called Comfort and Joy, where we give out food, all kinds of non-perishable food, and toys to 500 families in South Central Los Angeles. We work with the Newton Police Department that selects the families, and about 2,000 people show up at this event, about 4 people per family, 4 to 6, and we have 2,300 toys. We have bags of canned goods and non-perishable foods. We have Santa and Mrs. Claus arriving in a fire truck. We had helicopters, police helicopters flying around. It's an unbelievable event that we do every year with about 100 of our volunteers that come and help us.
That's wild.
It is wild.
I mean, that's got to be a fun event when you're sitting there and Santa comes pulling around the corner with Mrs. Claus on the fire truck. Lights are screaming, kids are going mental.
Oh yes, and we have police officers on motorcycles coming, and then we have a group that brings in fancy cars. So we have they're led like reindeers, these
Yeah.
Maseratis, Ferraris, and we invite kids to be part of it so that they can sit in the cars and take the ride when Santa arrives. It's a very emotional event for me. Like I said, I either am high as a
Yeah.
kite or sit in the car, and that one's one of those that's a combination of both. You just the way the families are that we interact with the families. It's
Yeah.
not like just handing out money. It's we have a booth where we have heart-shaped cards, and the kids can write their wishes on the card to Lovey. Lovey is our you can't, I don't know if you can see this or not, but this
Yeah.
is Lovey. Lovey is a
Oh,
stuffed heart, but we have a huge costume character that arrives and with Santa and Mrs. Claus. And what happens is the kids can write a letter to Lovey like Santa. And it's just very it just starts the holiday season because we'll do it very early, about the first week in December. So it starts
mm.
the holiday season, not just for the families, but for all of us.
Oh,
It
yes.
is, like I said, 93% of adults, it reduces stress and it makes you feel good as you go into the holiday season.
Oh, I I cannot imagine some of those letters have got to be beautiful, but some of
Oh,
them just have got to be heartbreaking.
they are, some
Especially
of them, yeah,
yeah.
they are unbelievably heartbreaking. Um, with parents who are
Yes.
incarcerated, or yeah,
Yes.
there are some really tough ones that you do, and then there's some heartwarming ones
Sure,
that
yeah.
make you feel so good. The Great Trike Giveaway, which stemmed from the first 3 that we gave out, we now give out 30 to 40 every year, and there's a huge parade now, and that's coming up next month. We have that coming up with the kids getting their new tricycles. So one year, you have an event, it's kind of over, and you're moving on to the next event, and you
Yes.
think about it, but you don't dwell on what the last one
Yeah.
was. So I got a card from a family, and I remembered the girl who got the bike, the tricycle. These are
Okay.
adapted for the kids.
Yeah,
She
for
was
that particular
around
yeah.
17 years old and intellectual disabilities. She couldn't even speak, but was such a happy child. I mean, a young adult. We got a card from the family saying that not only was the girl so excited to get it, their 2 siblings, younger sisters, and it was the first time they could play together, that they could ride the bike together. Now I'm sitting sobbing as I'm reading this card. This was like 3 years ago, and I still remember, and I'm tearing up.
Yeah,
So
like
you
that
make a
wasn't in the
difference.
yes. And that wasn't in the job description.
No.
There may be times when you're reading letters from 16-year-olds and it brings you to be a bawling mess.
Oh my
Oh,
God, I'm a mess.
yeah.
I'm always a mess at these things.
Yeah,
They're wonderful. Yeah.
they are powerful. I had the fortune to work in Asia in life insurance, and
Mm.
one of the most powerful things is bringing benefit checks to families.
Oh,
When
yes.
somebody's made the decision to take out a life policy and something happens to them, and they didn't plan on this part. They kind of figured they'd be around for to get their own money back. But instead we're bringing a check to the family. Same thing, right? You leave fulfilled, but also a little bit shaken and grateful that
Yes.
you've got what you've got and you are who you are. Um, and you're not needing some help from somebody else like this. How did you end up in the role?
It's interesting. 2 ways. First of all, from my past, I've always been involved in public service,
Okay.
politics, government, every job I've ever had has some external portion to it. Even when I
Okay.
worked in the corporate world, it was external affairs, and I would
Okay.
always be involved in whatever the heartfelt part of the job was. So my background was very, varied, but was always in that role. I could say right now that I got this job because of nepotism. I actually, my
Okay.
husband,
I'm for it.
now I'll go for that part of it. Having worked with a cancer foundation for about 10 years, I was ready to leave that. And my husband was the executive director of the Trial Lawyers Bar Association, a group called
Okay.
CALA. And the group LATLC had been moving along, but they never had any staff at all. It was all volunteer driven. And
Wow.
they came to my husband saying, we really need to hire an executive director. Can you help us with ideas? And my husband said, well, my wife happens to be leaving a job that was almost exactly the same, a group that had been volunteer driven, never had staff. She
Uh,
kickstarted that into a more professional area. And so I could say my job I got because of nepotism, but I can also say that nepotism is like decades old, meaning not the marriage, it is decades old, but
yeah.
uh, the experience that I've had really
Yeah.
brought me. And ironically, the kickoff of LATLC in 2006, I was going through pictures and I was there in 2006, and yet I got the job in 2016. So there was kind of a what do you call kismet of something saying that this, and I remember being so excited that they were doing this, and I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll volunteer, this kind of stuff, and then I ended up running
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Doing.
organization. Yeah.
I think. Yeah, you were right where you needed to be at the right time. The universe works pretty magically like that. You're leaving one job, and the job you're supposed to have comes to your. I mean, come on, that too
It
too
is
many coincidences for
it
me.
it is such a coincidence, and it is, and I'm not saying this from an ego perspective, but it's the culmination of every experience I've ever had, that
Yes. Yeah.
it just all gelled. When I was 16 was the first time I ever worked on a political campaign. And I met
Wow.
this, yeah.
Who was it? Who was it? Who are you? Who are
Oh,
you working
please.
for?
I'm so old. It
I know.
was,
That's what I want. Like, I want to see if I even know. I mean, I'm that
you
old too.
probably don't. He was a U.S. Senator named Alan Cranston. And that was the
Oh
first one
yeah,
I
Alan
ever,
Cranston.
Alan Cranston, my
He
first
actually got
campaign.
elected.
Yeah, he got elected. The only one I ever worked on that won after that. They all lost after that. So that's another story.
You're in the right
But,
field.
but in that campaign, I met somebody, one of the big donors, and we were talking, and he described himself as a philanthropist. And I'm 16 years old. I've never even heard that term before, a philanthropist.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm so rich, I give my money away. That's what
I,
I do to good
oh my
causes.
gosh.
And I thought, ding, ding, that's the job I want. I
Yeah.
would love to be able to be so rich that I help people. And it's stuck in my mind. Now I'm a lot older than 16. So that it just stuck with me. And this job has been the closest to becoming a philanthropist
Yes.
as I could ever have. I get a say in where the money goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get to pick and choose the kinds of groups that we're involved with. Um,
Hmm.
it's just unbelievable, really is.
And more importantly, you get to squeeze philanthropists for
Oh yes,
as much support as they possibly can, as much as their
oh yes.
ego. Just make sure that the ego is fully in full flame, and then ask for a check.
Well,
Oh.
it's funny to ask for money for something that you totally believe in
Yeah.
is probably the easiest thing in the world, because you can you can tell them where the money goes. They see where the money goes.
Mm,
Um, um, it makes the job of fundraising so much easier when they touch and feel everything. Um,
yes.
the group I worked with before was also very successful in fundraising. It was very family friends kind of fundraising, but it's harder to showcase a clinical trial that may take 10 years to come to fruition, to put your money in that,
Yes.
versus a bicycle that a child's face is going to totally
Mm.
light up because of it. It makes both are so valuable and so needed, but it is so much easier to showcase something that is so tangible.
Yeah, and I think attorneys, this is much more aligned to an attorney lifestyle, right? And kind of attitude, right? This long delayed stuff. They already have that in courts and everything else.
Mhm.
This delayed gratification or nothing, happens. And so I think an opportunity to give some money in March and to be in events that, continuously, right? So they're donating, but they're continuously events so they can see everything happening right now and get involved. I mean, you can't
Yes,
you can't get involved. There's there's a lot of investments, or money where you put money in something you believe in, but you are so far away from the actual product.
exactly. Exactly. And this is in a day and age where we want instant gratification.
Yes.
LATLC is the perfect instant gratification. You
True.
put your money in this. This is what you're going to get.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right now, we're in the middle of we have 2 signature events coming up. The first one is the Great Trike Giveaway, which is in July. And there we have 30, 40 tricycles that are going to be given away. Perfect. While the kids are getting their final fittings because they are totally adapted to the kids and their needs. We are also, because I believe that what is it, idle hands are the devil's playground. We don't want volunteers, 50, 60 volunteers just standing around waiting for the event to really begin. So we're going to assemble, and we've done this for the past 4 years, 1,000 toiletry kits for the unhoused. And these toiletry kits are going to US Vets, an organization, a national organization that helps the homeless veterans receive housing, jobs, everything. And LATLC also works with our Orange County counterpart, OCTLC. And so half of the kits are going to veterans who are homeless in Orange County, and half of them are going to Los Angeles, where the veterans are unhoused or receiving help. So these toiletry kits, if you saw my hallway right now, I've got 1,000 of 15 different items. I've got 1,000 boxed up, ready to go for our people to just stand there and start filling toiletry kits. And they're going to do it. And US Vets are going to be the organization is picking them up that day. Oop, I lost you, sound.
There we go. I had to
Oh,
try.
good.
Yeah, I'm back. I forgot I had to mute it because a jet. I'm living or not. I'm staying right near a military base, and the blue, not any military base, the Blue Angels.
Oh my God, how exciting. How
I can
exciting.
I can stand in the front yard at some on Tuesday mornings, and they fly over my head.
Oh,
They do
wonderful.
Yeah, it's practice day. So I was going to ask you to maybe share how people get involved or how they find you. How do they support you?
It's very easy. Our website is latlc.org. That's Los Angeles Trial Lawyers Charities.org. And on our website, we make it so easy. It's total turnkey. Everything is turnkey, meaning there's a box that says to donate. you can donate to us, and we appreciate every dollar that is given to us. And
Hmm.
we are a staff of 2. That's it. We grew to 2 people 3 years ago because I couldn't do it alone.
Yeah,
So we
eventually.
now have 2 people doing this. So you're not paying for overhead, and we both work from home. So there's no office space, there's nothing. And
Wow.
you can also click on the volunteer page, and we'll
Okay.
take anybody as a volunteer. You do not have to be a lawyer or a vendor who works with lawyers.
Hmm.
We've had the public volunteering with us because, as I said, we make it turnkey. So the next event we have, which is on Sunday, is we're doing a 4th of July barbecue for Ronald McDonald House in
Oh
Hollywood.
man.
There are
Oh
families whose kids are at the Children's Hospital, and they
man.
are able to stay at Ronald McDonald House. It's no charge. And so what we're doing is there are about 150 people, kids and adults. So we're barbecuing hot dogs. We're doing games. We've got activities for the families. We're decorating it for 4th of July. That's the type of one-off type of events that we do. So you can just click on, I'll get an email that says that you're volunteering the week of the event. You will get all the information, where to show up, what to wear. You get these cool gray t-shirts that we have, LATLC t-shirts, and you will help somebody in some form. I'm trying to think of the upcoming events, after Ronald McDonald House, in another event we have in July is called Kids Safe. These are teenagers who are in foster care or orphanages who are looking for a forever home. So this
Man.
group called Kids Save, one of our partner charities, it's like speed dating for families. Families who want to adopt will meet teenagers who want to be adopted. And we have like 6 activities, and in an informal environment, they will get to meet everybody. And then at the end, they'll decide who wants to get together to meet each other again. It's not an instantaneous, but they'll
Yes.
have their second date, and they make those arrangements.
That's like a miracle. That is really
Oh,
interesting.
yes. What we like at LATLC is, even though those 2 groups that I just mentioned, Ronald McDonald House and KidSafe, are both national type of organizations, we only focus on LA centric
Yeah.
activities and organizations. So the Ronald McDonald House in Hollywood is the only one where they actually have a full house, and it's one they purchased, and will help only that. It doesn't go to national. KidSave, same thing. They're kids in Los Angeles who need help. SoCal Trikers are partners, which are occupational and physical therapists who are involved in this organization,
Ah.
that get the kids, they get the bikes, they build the bikes, because we're not allowed to do it. We did that one year and it didn't work out, and do all the adjustments. But it's a local organization, and we would rather be,
Yeah. Yes.
in a
Yes.
way, a big fish in a little pond than a little fish in a big pond. We
Yeah.
want the dollars that we have, which aren't huge dollars in the big philanthropy world, we
Yes.
want them to make a difference. That's our goal.
Well, that's the coolest name ever, though. Bikes, trikes.
It's
What is it?
SoCal Trikers.
SoCal Trikers. I mean, that just sounds booty bad, 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 bad. And
It is so cool.
yeah, nobody wants trial attorneys building tricycles.
We did try to do it one year, but we were told after that, never again. They didn't even know what a wrench was and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I like it that the physical therapists are the ones kind of, because they know each client.
Yes, yes. Each of those
Interesting.
bikes can cost up to $1,000.
I was starting to think, like, this is not, you're not playing. This is real.
No, these are real. So these are kids as little as 2 years old to adults getting these bicycles. So they have to be adapted specifically to the age,
Yeah.
the activity. Some of the bikes, like the bike that Evangeline had that she was able to ride with her
Yeah.
sister, she can ride herself. Some bikes, there'll be a long pole that somebody behind them will be
Okay.
pushing the bicycle, but they still are moving their feet and moving their legs so
Ah,
that it is the physical activity. So it's a combination of what the needs are for the child, the independence that they're getting. The
big.
um,
Yeah.
I was writing a column for the Trial Lawyers magazine um, about this, and I found a quote by John F. Kennedy talking about the joy of riding, the simple joy of riding a bicycle. And for so many of these kids, they'll never have that.
Yeah.
They're in wheelchairs, or they are using equipment that is so not interactive with their peers. And this is allowing
Yeah.
them to be with that. And so many families can't afford it. So that's why we raise money specifically for this event, for the trikes.
Hmm.
And if you've got a second, I can tell you about that event. We do,
Yeah.
these are lawyers, a lot of active lawyers, let's put it
Okay.
that way. So during the pandemic, when we couldn't have our fundraisers, golf tournaments, or our gala every year, we didn't want to we didn't want to stop giving money to the bikes. That was really important to us. So a bunch of guys got together and said, let's do a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. We'll see if we can raise a few thousand. If we could raise $20,000, that was the goal.
Okay.
We'd be able to pay for bikes for a year, for the year.
To get through COVID.
Well,
Yeah. Let's just
yeah,
get through it.
just get through COVID. We
Yeah.
do it outside at a park, and we'll do this basketball tournament. Well, they didn't raise $20,000. They raised $35,000 doing this basketball tournament. The second year, we raised over 60. It's now, we've raised, the last one was $87,000 for the tricycles, just for this
Whoa.
event.
Whoa.
So it's become a big event for us and a lot of fun. We do it
A lot
at
of fun.
a lot of fun and very vicious, I should tell you.
I
Lawyers,
because I mean
competition.
it's not like they're competitive or anything.
It is the most competitive thing I've ever seen. We had women playing also, and there were a few concussions, so that kind of has gone by the wayside. But it has become, we want to do events that
Concussions.
very much are targeted for the need. For example,
Yeah.
and especially during the pandemic, it became very clear that if we wanted to do scholarships, we had to have an event that would raise money specifically, a short-term activity that would
Interesting.
raise money. Could we do, and the basketball tournament seemed like a fun thing until we could get back to our normal
Right.
golf tournament and soiree.
It's kind of nice when you start realizing there are maybe play to the strengths of your membership.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and very clever. And not everybody's a golfer, so you're
No.
going to miss 80% of the attorneys. And you'll drag whatever percent will come along. Just because it's an event and it's one of the events. But holy cow, if you got a basketball game, you come up, I don't know, a chess tournament or whatever else where you pit egos against each other and then use it to extract money, right? It's beautiful for all
Yes.
for good cause.
All for good cause.
Yeah.
One of our board members, who was our past president, who's an incredible attorney. He was trial lawyer of the year,
Whoa.
just a huge attorney, but he's also an incredible chef and owns restaurants, Brothers Sushi, and a number of restaurants that Steve Artesarian owns. He opens his house to a luau. that he invites people in, a huge house. So he does this luau and auctions off tickets. We raised, it was just last Saturday was the luau.
Okay.
There were 350 people who attended. We raised $161,000 just, and it isn't even for us. He does it for LATLC, which means $160,000 more that we can give away. $160,000. It's just unbelievable. And people were just clamoring to come to this event because of the generosity of
Yeah.
Stephen Collette.
Yeah.
They, by opening up their home and their hearts to a nonprofit, and people knew why they were there. They knew it was to have fun, and it was this luau, but the money raised goes to such a good cause for them, for the
Yeah.
people attending. Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. That's real. Boy, that's real. I mean, the person to dollar ratio is pretty solid.
Yes, yes, and he covers the cost of everything, so it wasn't like net. The
Ah,
gross was the net for us, which is I'm so blown away by the generosity. Here's a
yes.
lawyer,
Yeah.
a trial lawyer who gets multi-million-dollar settlements, trial lawyer of the year, and this is across the board. We have about 3,000 supporters, trial lawyers, vendors who work with trial lawyers who just open their hearts and their pocketbooks to help other people. And they
Hmm.
see through volunteering, through attending our um, signature events. We have a third signature event, which is a Day of Dignity in Hollywood for the unhoused. So that event, about 400 unhoused individuals come and get their mobile showers, haircuts,
Oh, cool.
food, clothing, services are there. I mean, traditionally you have different services there, and the people who tell you, podiatrists, because feet
I
this is unbelievable. And a shout out to one of our big partners, which is Bomba Socks. Um, Bomba Socks puts their money where their mouth is also, because we get 3,000 socks every year that are donated. When they say for every one you buy, another one is donated, I could tell you in my storage unit are 3,000 Bomba socks, 1,000 of which are going to go to the toiletry kits
yes.
in a few weeks, and 2,000 are going to Comfort and Joy and to Day of Dignity. They're going to be going into the families.
Man. Bomba socks. That's a shout out. That's real.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm more than happy to give them a shout out.
Yeah, and it sounds pretty simple, but socks. You've seen homeless people and you've walked around the streets and you've been close. Shoes and feet and socks are needed.
Yes. Yeah,
It's the only word I could come up
absolutely.
with. Yeah.
Um, the simplest thing, the most popular activity at the Day of Dignity was haircuts. Oh, and
For
we
sure.
also, haircuts was a big thing, and that was the Sebastian group. People came in
Wow.
and did the haircuts. And then also legal assistance. Now, you'd think trial lawyers would give legal advice, no problem. The problem is our bylaws prevent us from actually doing legal advice. So, another shout out to our partners. We have a group called the Social Justice, and also a group called the Mexican American Bar Association that came in, and they provided the legal assistance. One of the things, if I could give any recommendation to other nonprofits, other groups, is to network as much as possible and
Yes.
know the people that have the strengths that you don't have, or the
Interesting.
capabilities that you don't have, and get to know them and to integrate what you're doing. There's an old saying, I used to use it when I was in PR. I think it has to do with Native Americans and the environment, but it's think globally, act locally.
Yeah.
And so you look out in the world and see what's out there and what the needs are. And then where do you fit in? Where do other people fit in that you can work with? And
Mm,
to work together, you create a much better product for everybody.
absolutely. Agreed. Absolutely. So I'm kind of thinking about the last question is for me. What's next? What are you guys working on? Do you have any kind of a secret skunk works going on, or
Oh, we have a couple of things. We may change up the 3-on-3 basketball tournament and do a softball, so it's more co-ed, and also with our partners,
less?
Orange County, to make it a very competitive between our Orange County counterpart
Oh,
and the LA counterpart. We do group activities like the Great Try Giveaway together. We do have our three signature events: Great Try Giveaway in July, Day of Dignity in October, and then Comfort and Joy in December. We also participate in a convention of attorneys where there are 3,000 attorneys that come to a convention. We have a booth with our counterparts in Orange County, and we do a service project right in the booth. This year's service project
clever. That's very
is
clever.
pre-COVID, we used to do the toiletry kits, but we don't do that anymore. Now this year we're doing quilts, whereas we will have quilt squares that people can draw, or we have fabric markers that people can draw a little something, and they're going to be assembled by one of our board members into baby quilts for groups called Casa Los Angeles and Casa Orange County. These are organizations that help children going through the court system, whether they're foster kids, babies going through any kind of family court situation. So
Hmm.
we're donating these as part of this is a service project that the guests who come by our booth learn about LATLC and OCTLC, but also will be participating in a service project while they're there. Two
Amazing.
minutes, draw a horse, a
and
heart.
and it ends up, with these set of eyes looking at it that you never met, and
Right,
you don't know.
exactly. It's incredible the kind,
Yeah,
the ideas that our team, whether it's the board, the volunteers, they'll come up with an idea and we just go with it.
it's great. Lisa, I totally appreciate what you're doing, and this is
Thank you.
that's a tough job by yourself for a couple years, and even working alone. Um, you're not alone. You got a lot of people behind you, and alongside of you. But that's tough being a director of a nonprofit and doing a lot of this alone. So good on you. You are definitely a humanist at this point. You and
And thank you for letting us share what we're doing.
this is what it is, right? It's a platform. It's a great pleasure for me to give people an opportunity and hopefully build it up a little bit, so we can reach a lot of people. The idea is like you, to reach more people and to touch more people is the goal. Um,
Yes,
it's really good stuff. Thanks everybody for listening to The Humanist and supporting what we do. If you know of a good guest or somebody that would be a great guest, let me know. If you've got some comments or anything, you're listening on audio now. Thanks very much for making it to the end. Drop down, give us some stars, give us a little bit of comments and some love, all that good stuff. Lisa, thanks again so much. Hang around for 20 seconds and I'll see you on the other side.
okay, thank you, Ken.
Okay, hang on here. Let me see if I can find my outro. Uh-oh. What's happening? I'm losing my little spot. I think I want to say that's it. But, I found it. Here we go. See you in 20 seconds.
Okay.
Welcome to the Humanist Podcast. I'm your host, Ken Stearns. Join us on a journey